So jumping off Matt Lund, getting the record now.
Yeah, that was awesome.
Open leading record, right?
That was awesome. I'm not 100% sure what he's got now. I think he's got over 4,400 because the record was 4,300 and he got to obviously 4,301. So yeah, congratulations. That's an awesome deal. I mean, it shows his accountability, durability. I mean, there's a lot more to it than just, being a good running back. I mean, it shows that he's been playing a lot of football for Elgin. But one of the coolest things that I saw in the whole deal was after the game, being in the coach's office, and it just kind of showed what kind of kid Matt was. Walked in after it was over with and stuck his head and said, "Hey, I want to thank all of y'all, because without y'all, I wouldn't have did this." So, I mean, I thought, yeah, the record's great and all that kind of stuff, but, I mean, just for him to have the wherewithal to kind of stick his head in there and tell it to the coaches kind of showed me kind of what kind of kid he was, not only just a football player. So, congratulations to him. That's amazing. A huge, huge feat.
Yeah, and it's cool because we've seen him from War Owl to middle school football player for us to outstanding high school football player, and he's probably got a lot of football left in him. He's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, he's got three regular season games left, and hopefully 3 to 4 playoff games left. So, I mean, there's a possibility he can get to 5, which could put him in a stratosphere where nobody will ever catch him. But
right.
But just congratulations to him, congratulations to his family, the O-line, coaching staff, everybody. I mean, that's a deal. It's not just that's beyond just one kid. Right. Obviously, you need an offensive line in front of you to get yardage there. I mean, last week when we had Chalmer on, I mean, he talked about it a little. Like it was special to him because he was there for every single one of those yards. And I mean, obviously, it was a big deal to Adam Castro because he came sprinting from the box and hopped over the fence to get on the field to make sure that he was able.
People need to understand the feat that Castro did jumping over that. It's a big risk. And
I'm surprised that ACL's still there.
Yeah, and he was like, "Yeah, I did it up and down." I said, "Good night. We got to look at the film on that one."
Well, Cody, you've been there for all that too, right?
Yeah, man. I've got to watch Matt on the journey from freshman and taking on a big responsibility then, and just growing and getting stronger. And some college out there is going to get a really good football player too with Matt Lund, and that's something I can't wait to watch and see in his future. He's been a good one, man, when it comes to running backs and just overall football players and just good people to be around in the Elgin football community.
Well, just his jump, and I mean, Coach Wyatt talks about it all the time, kind of in the media. I mean, just his jump as a running back from junior to senior year is pretty remarkable. I mean, now, every time he touches the ball, it's you're just sitting on pins and needles saying, okay, is he going to break it? Well,
he broke the record in the second quarter.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, when you think about it, he hasn't played a full game yet.
Yeah, so
we're 7 games in. He's probably played 14 quarters maybe, because, I don't know if he's seen any action really in the second half.
There's been several games where there's been no second half action.
Right. So, he's already, I don't know if he's over 1,000 already for the year. But if not, he's close to it.
Hell, this first Anadarko game, he didn't even play the second quarter, did he?
Dude, it was quick. It was quick. He's like y'all are saying, just the explosiveness and the availability of him to do anything at any time now with his element with the passing game and everything else. Yeah,
that's one thing that he's added this year that's helped a lot, and I think will help him recruiting wise too. I know he doesn't have the amount of offers that you would think a kid of that talent does at this point, but I think colleges will start to come as we get closer to signing day and the end of the year. But that added dimension of now him catching the ball out of the backfield, I think will help him in recruiting because, I'm sure some coaches look at him and say, hey, he might not be a running back at the next level. He may be kind of one of those slot guys or something like that.
That's what I was about to say, too. I was going to ask you, how does that work out when it comes to recruiting? You got a good kid here. He's intelligent. He loves to play football. He's an all-around good kid. He's a good human. Is that what the recruiters look like? What you may not be the running back, but maybe you're a hell of a slot receiver.
Yeah, they'll look at his feet work, and they'll look at the way that he obviously, like I said, now he's catching the ball out of the backfield some. Previously, it was just kind of that little wheel route that's all that we throw to him. Now we're kind of throwing the ball to him on some swing routes and some screens, still that wheel route, so you can see him eye-hand coordination is fine there as far as catching the ball. Like I said, so that could translate. Also could translate to maybe a safety or a cornerback spot because of his speed and kind of quick twitch ability. Like I said, I don't know how much he weighs, but 170, 180. I don't even know if he's up to that point.
210.
If he was 210, we would be having a different conversation.
No,
but so that may scare as far as the every down running back kind of deal. So he may have to. But, I mean, like you said, I mean, being a good kid, being a student in the game, being smart, being a captain, all that stuff gets looked at by coaches big time.
Yeah, I think with him, too, and I'm not real big in knowing the ins and outs of football recruitment, but with him, I would think when you have someone that speed and that football awareness, just being able to understand the game of football, you'll find a place for him.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And I know that's a big shout out to Coach Castro and Coach Wyatt too. I think with the offensive game plan, like they are really good job at utilizing the weapons they have. And they realized like real quick at the beginning of this season, like we knew Matt was special, but like, all right, let's utilize him to the max. And
well, and to kind of piggyback off of that, so David Dillingham sent me the stat of the week this week. And so we're 7 games in. 7 games into it. Now, not all of them are on offense because obviously we had Chase Spencer with the defensive touchdown.
God, that was awesome.
That was an awesome play.
Yeah.
And Brody's had the punt return and some other things like that. But at this point, 7 games into the season, 18 different Elgin Isles have scored a varsity touchdown.
That's crazy.
That's super cool.
I mean, that's a pretty crazy feat when you actually think about it. And especially, like I said, only 7 games in.
I think that translates to like we have a bunch of kids that understand football. When you have kids out on the field that understand the game of football and they understand like you get that ball into the end zone, like that's how you score points, and they're all hungry to do that. They all want to be exciting playmakers. And you build that formula of teaching the kids the right things, at the right age. And 18, that's a lot, dude.
Yeah.
That's a cool.
Well, and I can't think of one single time during any game that you've seen any type of selfishness either.
No, absolutely not.
And I mean, yeah, I get everybody, they're 7-0. Why would you be selfish? There's a lot of kids out there that would be that. Matt Lund could easily be selfish with Ritson getting some of the carries that he gets, and Ritson, could be selfish about some of the carries that Antuna and some of those guys get. But you don't ever see it. You don't see any of that stuff. It hasn't been a problem in the locker room or anything like that. So that's a testament also kind of to the mindset of the entire team and the coaching staff.
It's not a factor like in our locker room at all. I don't feel like, and like it's all the way up into our leadership on the team with like Mike Adesola. You look at somebody that's completely selfless on our team. There's a list on and on and on Mike could go over about, not having touchdowns and stuff like that. But like you would never, ever even hear a word out of that man. That man's telling me when the game's 40-something to nothing, Coach, I can't wait to show you my blocking on this drive. Like he's telling me that on the sideline. I'm like, dude, that's awesome. Like, that's a selfless person that understands the concept of the game way more than the concept of myself.
Well, and
people are looking at him still like because of those genuine quality purposes of him as a human, not his highlights,
Well, and I don't think people understand at home a lot of times how much his blocking on the outside springs Matt's long runs, Ritson's long runs, Brody's swing passes and things like that. I mean, you see Matt, take off running and there's nobody there and everybody, Matt's just so fast he just outran everybody. Not always, because Mike's out there. I remember a run earlier in the year. Keith's out there 20 yards downfield as well. So all that type of stuff is pretty cool to kind of touch on the kind of the unselfishness of playing through the whistle and doing your job. On this play, I know I got to be a blocker, so I'm going to block to the best of my ability. I'm not going to sulk because I've only got one catch on the day or whatever else.
He takes it personal when it's time to go block. He wants to be that dude in there blocking, and that's we found a true captain in the team when we named him one of the captains, and that's a very those are hard to find.
That's awesome, and I think this is a good transition into the Week 7 honors. Black flag bearer, Michael Adesola.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know Jack will piggyback just on that mindset that Mike has. And what he represents, and it represents Jack down to the core, I feel like, and the defense and the philosophy and everything. You know, you look at somebody and it's Mike, you know, and just week after week with that award too, like, I'm like, dang, how's Jack going to pick one? You know,
right.
Because they're all out there freaking, they're battling, you know. It's a big honor to get that on our team, you know, and kids are doing everything they can to show they're worthy of that. And
well, it's a cool deal too, because like I said, you lead the team out. You're kind of that, you know, I know it's a defensive kind of award, but at the end of the day, you're leading the full team out there under the smoke and all that kind of stuff. So, I mean, but yeah, there's nobody more deserving than Mike. I mean, he, like you said, I mean, constant, does everything right in the classroom, does everything right off the field, on the field. I mean, like you said, I mean, couldn't ask for a better role model. And like I said, Josh last night when I was in, I mean, you know, what's your brother like? Well, he's kind of like a role model, you know. And if your brother who's a year younger than you says that, obviously you're doing something right. Because usually those brothers that are a year younger are like, screw that dude, I want to beat his ass. You know?
You're absolutely right.
But for him to say he's kind of like a role model, I mean, shows, you know, the admiration not only that the team had, but even his own brother. That's a pretty cool deal.
Yeah, and they knew the family dynamic and how close they were as a unit, and just how good of a family and asset they were to our community, you know. And people would really, really love Mike more than they do, you know.
I think the people that know them too, they could learn a lot too. I mean, that's a good example to set. You know what I mean? One thing that I've always done is look at other people and try to, hey man, maybe I should be doing that.
Well, and I said it last week too. I mean, in his little, you know, homecoming spiel, everybody else has kind of had jokes and whatever else. And everybody else had jokes and whatever else. And I get his homecoming, it's all fun and games, but Mike had to make sure, hey, I want to truly thank my mom for all the sacrifices she did for our family.
Yeah, and that's what kids should be diving into instead of the YouTube and all that other stuff.
TikTok. And
instead of that, go dig into some Mike Adesolo like videos or whatever he's got going on, because he's a fantastic dude.
And we need to get him. We need to get a video of him playing the piano.
Yeah, absolutely. He's good at everything. He's fantastic. I know he plays at his church. And does all that. And
piano. Your voice to play piano?
Yeah. Went to lessons. What's today? Wednesday? Yeah, yesterday. Once a week now for like 2 years.
That's one of those things I wish I would have thought of. Like, I just never thought of doing that.
I don't have a musical bone in my body.
Well, I don't either.
I played the trombone in 5th grade, and that's about it.
I had a really good buddy that his dad tried to get me to play Stairway to Heaven on the guitar, the background, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Just 'cause it's supposed to be the simplest thing, like just the background.
You got no beat?
My dad tried.
He gave up.
my dad played in bands and all that kind of stuff, just kind of little garage bands and things, and that's his guitar over there. And I just never, you know, when I was a kid, I was like, oh no, that's not cool. I'm a sports guy.
That's how.
And looking back on it, I'm like, damn, that was dumb. I should have learned how to play the guitar.
Oh man, I got a sidetrack.
That's exactly how I am though, because like I would love to be musically talented to play the guitar like Coach Langford, you know, and I get Beeling on here playing, you know. But that's something that me and Alyssa Alyssa and I try to share with our kids and give them some things that we wish we would have done when we were a little bit.
100%. Okay, so reeling back here, I messed up there.
That's what we're here
Practice
for.
Player of the Week.
Yeah, we got to stay on task.
David Cardoza.
Yeah, David Cardoza, he was a kid that just came into school and was kind of a soccer kid at first, but then decided to play football and stuck around and has played a lot of scout team for us and is a fantastic scout team running back. He takes a lot of licks back there from you know who, with all them dudes. And he's there every day, does things right, and it was good to be able to reward him for what he does every single week for us in practice.
Well, I just left practice, and I mean, those kids that played the scout team, both on the offensive side and the defensive side, I mean, really take pride in it and really push to it seems like to push to get that award. Because it's a big deal. I mean, like you said, if you're a scout team guy, obviously you're not playing that much on Friday nights outside of, you know, a lot of them have played probably a lot more this year than they thought they would with some of the scores and things. But I mean, to go out there with the captains and kind of see how all that goes and things like that. Like I said, I didn't know too, some of the freshman kids that have gotten named it weren't planning on dressing out and got to dress out for that game because they were that scout team player of the week. So I mean, it's a cool deal that we honor a kid every week for that, because I mean a lot of times that goes kind of it's an unsung deal and kind of something that doesn't get seen by the public, how much those guys really mean to you.
Yeah, people don't see kind of the ins and outs, especially with that kind of freshman group. We're fortunate enough as a team to have numbers where we don't have to suit up every freshman on Friday night to look like we have a huge team and to have the depth that we need. But the ins and out of every single week pushes us in positions where we might have to suit kids out that didn't suit out the week before. Then do you let the kid that suit out the week before suit back out? And I don't know, it's just kind of an in and out dynamic, but that's healthy as a team. We need that, and then for kids to see that outlet, our practice player of the week, I'm guaranteed to suit out, So, they make you bust your butt every single day.
Well, I mean, you're only as good as your scout team. Because at the end of the day, if your scout team can't run the plays from the card and can't get lined up and things like that, I mean, you're not helping the kids that are out there playing every down on Fridays. I mean, I'm sure you notice it some at the middle school level, things like that. I mean, that's hard to run a scout team with.
Oh yeah.
So I mean, once they
kind of guy right here knows.
So once they get to high school, you want to be able to run that scout team because it's so important to your overall success.
I got one that trumps it all: first and second grade scout team.
Oh,
There you go.
That's herding cats right there.
Yeah.
But y'all have had a good year.
Yeah, it was
Congrats.
good.
Made it to the playoffs.
We'll go to the playoffs, slug it out this weekend, try to make it in the Super Bowl. So that's
Tuttle Tigers.
Play Tuttle this weekend, rematch. They beat us earlier in the season, 16-0.
Yeah,
so it was a tight game. Our defense is pretty solid. We hope we can shut them down and then maybe score some points.
So we came out a little slow. I think if we come out against Tuttle, we got a chance.
Like we talked about before, it's hard to get them boys going at 9 o'clock in the morning. So,
well, especially this week when we have to travel to Newcastle, it makes it a little bit more difficult. But it is what it is. Go first grade.
That's right. That's
First, second grade.
That's where I'm headed right after this, on the grind every single day with that. And,
I got to ask a question about that. I don't want to because I want to keep it on time, but I got to ask a question about that. Do you think there's a difference between start time, right? I've noticed some of the kids do better when they start in the latter part of the day. I've seen teams not do too good starting later and they do better. And I've seen teams that did better starting morning and they didn't do later.
Yeah, and that just kind of depends on how your family structure is. I try to talk to families that are within our team and say, hey, you've got to change their schedule if they're not a morning person. We got to be able to get up and get around and then but still, we're having practice at 7 o'clock at night for kids, and just we can't emulate the 9 o'clock in the morning thing really unless we're practicing on a weekend, and you don't get much time for that in the preseason.
Right.
And there's definitely a different correlation with that. I feel like, and it just it depends on your family structure. For me personally, I could play a game at 6 o'clock in the morning and I'll coach you to death right there. If I have to coach you at midnight, I'm gonna be looking bad.
Yeah, it was kind of a mix. I mean, even not just the young kids, but even kind of like the college age kids. I mean, sometimes you'll start those games at 10 o'clock in the morning, and then you'll have games at 7 o'clock. So sometimes it's cool to have those night games because you're under the lights. But I mean, then you also run the risk of sitting there all day.
Yes. You got to figure out something.
And you got to figure out something to do. So I mean, consistency is the best part of it, and that's the one thing that I do like about the first second grade team. I mean, every Saturday is 9 o'clock. It's at 9 o'clock.
Yes.
So once you kind of get that structure in place, like you said, I mean, the family dynamic comes into play. If you get that structure in place, I think you're okay. But sometimes it depends on the road trip too. Sometimes
it depends on where the Owls played the night before.
Yes, that does. Play a little
half of my team have older siblings, or cheerleaders, or somebody they're involved with on the night before. So it's a community effort.
All right, so coming back, Captain Jack Ansley.
Just filling in our rotating captain spot with Jack, and I don't know what else I can really say about Jack, and just his role and effort this season has translated more to the practice room or to the practice field and to off the field and everything else, just as his mindset is business, a lot of times. Right. And, beforehand, we maybe had to get Jack a little more focused than other kids and had to talk to him about his pattern or his schedule, know, and he's done a good job of cleaning all that up this year. He realizes the significance of that and the importance, and he's been a great leader and a role model for, the younger kids. And it's good for our team to have him in that leadership role model, that role spot,
Yeah, I mean, he's had a great year all year. I mean, like I said, him coming off that edge is fun to watch. because he's so quick in there. And he uses his speed and he uses his Gumby stretchiness a lot to his advantage, and I think he's one of the few that kind of only plays one way, so he's able to focus 100% on kind of that DN spot, and does, like I said, does an absolute great job for us there, and
he's unorthodox is the way I'd say. Like, he's very unorthodox to everything he does, and it works for him.
Well, and coming off the bus, there's no way you would think he would be a D line.
No, you think, he's going to go try to catch a ball over our head because he's a giant. He's 8 feet tall out there, 180 pounds.
But he uses his speed. He uses, like I said, that stretchiness, that bendability, and things like that, kind of around that edge, and he's always in the backfield. And like I said, it gets seen a lot on pass plays, but he's in the backfield and run plays where he might not be the one that's making the tackle, but he has messed the entire timing up of everything, where Colin and Ritson can kind of come on there and clean things up. So he's a huge asset to the defense, and like I say, I think this is the second time in 2 games kind of being named a captain by the coaches. So that's obviously the coaches see his importance and his leadership skills and what he means to the team and things like that.
Absolutely.
All right, so moving on to the Week 7 players of the games. Right off the bat, let's start with the offense. That was the line.
The whole offensive line. That's very fitting.
All the hogs, baby.
They're not usually individualized, so it's cool to get to see them all named. Obviously, every week you could almost give it to Matt, but like I said, Matt will be the first to tell you he doesn't get the yards that he gets that record without those guys up front.
I hope that just speaks to like our whole mindset and philosophy, like as a program, as that people see from the outside. That's what we value, is those people that are doing the work in the trenches, and I think that's what Coach Castro is always trying to relay to everybody else. And that's what I definitely feel like, and you have to have them dudes to make everything work. And Matt appreciates them, and of course we couldn't do it without him and all the amazing stuff that he's good at. But to make it function, that's the core and that's the heart, right there. And that unit works so well together with just the group they have. And I don't know, that's all Coach Castro. He's awesome.
Well, if we're gonna get to the places where we want to get this season, playing in week 12, 13, 14, and beyond, it's going to start with those guys
on their backs.
We know we realized it last year in the Guthrie game.
Yep.
This year we really haven't ran across somebody that's punched us in the mouth on the defensive side. Reno gave us a pretty good challenge in the first half, more offensively against our defense. Our offense kind of was able to handle them whatever way we wanted to. But if we're going to beat the Guthrie's, and obviously we got to get through the regular season, but if we're going to get to where we want to go and make it through the first round, second round, into the semis or whatever, it's going to be on the back of those guys. So it's cool to see them getting named as a group, because like when we had Coach Castro on, those, it's kind of one singular. It's a unit.
Unit of hogs.
We named the Rough Rider of the week and whatnot, but at the end of the day, that's 5. That's a fist. You need all 5 of them to create the big punch, and they do a good job of it. And like you said, Coach Castro is an amazing offensive line coach. Congratulations to those guys, and looking forward to seeing how they can continue for the rest of the year.
That's a cool fact about the offensive line, I guess. Why I also like a big fan too. Like everyone that I've had on the starting offensive line, they've all been in the wrestling room in their high school career at some point. They might not have finished out. That Keith, was in there for a year, and Carson was in there for a year to start, and then all the other ones, are still in there hooking it up, getting after it. So had all of them in there working with them in that aspect. So very proud of them.
Well, naturally, I would imagine, explain to us a little bit about how offensive line play and defensive line play translates to the wrestling mat.
Your footwork, we kind of talked about before with your footwork and just being able to move with your feet and hands at the same time. And then especially the hand fighting aspect, Coach Baker lets me help out the defensive line a little bit, and we work on the hand fighting aspect of being able to clear hands and get to angles and stuff. And that translates a lot to the wrestling mat and wrestling mat to football field. And It's a good dynamic. And like wrestling's one of those kind of unsung sports too. You know, you don't get a lot of glory and fame and recognition, and that's kind of the motto of the offensive line, you know.
But usually, if you show me a good wrestling program, usually a football program, if you have crossover, usually you've got a pretty good football program too. I mean,
yeah,
a lot of people have said, you know, build a wrestling program, you know, get your football team better. If you have a lot of crossover. Now, sometimes, you know, there's some football coaches out there that are, you know, I want my football kids football 100% of the time, football and track.
Or you fight the powerlifting battle in some schools.
Right.
You know, and like, I get it. There's kids that specifically are in there for that and stuff. Mm-hmm. And you got to have some sort of outlet for them. But to push your kids into not competing into something in the winter, I mean, I feel like it's foolish as a coach, you know, and as somebody that's trying to get a program up and running. Our coaches did a great job of emptying out the off season. You know, there's no kids that come to off season football unless like there's a real reason why you're in there. You know? And that's good. That's a good thing to have. I mean, and
well, it's good for the kids too, because like you said, I mean, you're learning to compete throughout the year. Yes. I mean, when you're in the weight room, you're learning. You know, I mean, you're learning a lot in the weight room. You're getting stronger and things like that. But I mean, there's no substitution for competition.
No.
And then what you learn from wrestling, what you learn from baseball, does translate to football.
Yes.
And
track, you know, we have a lot of kids.
Yeah,
if you're not anything else, we send you to track off season. John's in there running the hell out of them.
Right.
Know, and not running them like distance wise, but he's teaching them how to run. You're teaching speed drills and stuff like that we need in our program, and that was really instrumental. I'm sure Chalmers talked about before, you know, with that program.
Well, and you look at, and I mean, that one thing that gets lost on parents, I mean, kind of in the daddy ball AAU era we're in right now, I mean, people start, I'm going to specialize my kid at 8. Right. You're like, why? What are you talking about? And I mean, then you go to like an NFL draft, a Major League Baseball draft, you know, and they, you know, the stats come out and, you know, 31 of the 32 guys that got drafted in the NFL first round played multiple sports in high school.
Yeah. I mean,
so why, you know, same thing in
baseball. They're bored most of the time.
Yeah, and same thing in the baseball draft. So it's like, why are we specializing at 8? Because at 8 years old, I mean, you don't know what sports you're going to be good at as you get older. And like I said, the more you compete, the more competitive you become, and the more winning becomes, you know, more of a big deal. And I mean, that's my advice. I mean, as many sports as possible. Obviously, you don't want to be getting away where they overlap and you're not practicing and whatnot. But I mean,
and a lot of kids you don't want to see 9 months out of the year.
No.
Like, you don't need to coach that kid that long throughout the year.
Because they need a break from you as much as you need a break from them sometimes.
It's one of those dynamics where, like, all right, it's good to go get coaching from somebody else. Let them deal with however you handle coaching and see how you adapt to them. And I don't know, I try to do that with Waylon a lot, you know, to push him off on other people and just be like, hey, man, this is not me. You got to go take coaching from them. And if you don't react right, like, they're going to get on to you.
Dog, and I do the same thing with Dax, man. You know what I mean?
Because your kids are going to listen to other people probably more than you. I mean, that's just the way it is. It might be the same exact message, but it also helps. And it's also cool that the coaching staff as a whole, not just football, the whole Elgin coaching community does kind of communicate.
Yeah, absolutely.
So you guys, you know how to, you know, hey, this works with me. This works for this kid, for me. And I mean, I'm sure you talk to other coaches about some of that stuff sometimes, like, hey, he's a knucklehead sometimes for me. How do you get through to him and this, that, and the other? And I mean, you got to learn the kids a little bit better too.
All right, jumping back into it, defensive player of the week, Ritson Meyer.
Yeah, Ritson was all over the field tackling people. He had a ton of tackles, and every time we looked up, or every time I was looking at like even the highlight film, you saw Ritson tackling somebody on there, you know, and he did a great job just knowing the assignment and being where he's supposed to be and being a great athletic linebacker that he is, man. Yeah. And not only scoring touchdowns, doing his role on offense, you know, he's a hell of a linebacker.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he's all over the field, and a lot of it starts with the guys up front, and a lot of it's assignment at football too. I mean, a lot of it is designed for him and Colin to make a lot of plays, but but it's Jace holding up, or Shea getting to the outside and making them cut up an inside and things like that. But yeah, Rick, what can you say about him? He's as athletic as they come. And like I said, sometimes he's not, you can ask Coach Baker, sometimes he's not always in the right spot, but he finds a way with his athletic ability to make plays that most high school linebackers, especially most sophomore high school linebackers, do not make. So it's going to be fun to watch him grow. Because, he really hasn't played that much football yet.
No.
He's done some great things for the football team. But, at the end of the day, he hasn't played as much football as Colin Donnelly has. He hasn't played as much football as some of those, the Crabtrees and some of those guys because he's a year younger, grade younger. So it's going to be fun to see him kind of, because he's gotten a lot better from last year to this year. Yeah. So it's going to be fun to watch the next 2 years how good he can get.
He's learning every week, the ins and outs. And I don't know, there's something to be said about like junior high football. Like he had a lot of success in junior high football and stuff. And not necessarily he wasn't trying to play the assignment in junior high football, but you can get away with a lot when you're a bigger, better dog than everybody else out there, and
well, and talking to Lance, when Lance was on a couple weeks ago or 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, whenever that was, like you said, now he's starting to learn football. And not that he's starting to learn football, but wanting to know why.
Yeah, understanding, all right, this is why this is happening. This is why I'm being coached this way, This is happening because it's exactly like
so once he's able to put the athletic ability along with the why and then it could get scary.
Yeah,
man, he's a young cat though. At the end of the day, he's been pushed into a leadership position since he started high school football. What I mean? Based on his abilities. So I think he's going to get a lot of knowledge out of that. It's just different. Like y'all said earlier, sometimes kids have to get practice player of the week to suit up.
Yeah,
they're
freshman.
Freshman.
He walks in.
A dude out there.
Yeah, right. He walks in as a freshman being the dude. And that comes with a different set of. It comes with a different set of goals for you as you get older in the program, but it also comes with a different set of eyes on you too.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So we've asked a lot of him, but we've also when you look at the team as a whole, the team that's now sophomores, juniors, and seniors were asked a lot more of the kids that are freshmen, 8th and freshman grades now, because the cupboard was kind of bare. But that goes back to the building the program side of things now. And the cool thing about it is we have kind of gotten out to a good start and gotten some of those kids that we didn't know were going to get as much reps this year on Friday nights under the lights, a lot more reps than we thought we would. And that's only going to help them in the future.
Yeah, and that's just like a testament to Colin and them dudes as freshmen taking some of them beatings in there, and being able to endure that as a class, and then to kind of set the tone growing up from there, and thankfully now, because the program's been set like that, those kids aren't having to pay those not consequences, but like the dividends that Colin, or the investment that Colin and all of them had to initially, you know what I'm saying, by going in there and taking those beatdowns. Like we had some rough seasons, and not so much with them when they were freshmen. I think we were 4 and 6 that year, but I guess still that's a tough year compared to what we're doing right now. And they did a good job of sticking together as a class and seeing the big picture, and they're getting to reap their benefits of that, and the younger classes are getting to reap the benefits of that.
Well, I think that also will help us as we move forward into some of these tougher games. I know a lot of people, one of the questions that have been asked to me by outsiders is, well, what are y'all going to do when y'all get into that, 21-17 game in the third or fourth quarter? Because y'all haven't had to have that this year. But we basically returned everybody. So we had those games last year. We had those games when, Trace and Colin and them were freshmen, and it's not like it's a brand new team from last year to this year. So they have played in those type of games. They just need to kind of look back, and it was a year ago. But so, they have played in some of those games. So I think sometimes that gets lost on people where they start talking about, well, y'all haven't been tested yet. So what happens when y'all do get tested? Well, we were tested last year a decent amount, especially those last 3 games between MacArthur, Midwest City, and then Guthrie. And that's on the back of everybody's mind.
And as a staff and as a program, I think the kids know that as well too. Yeah. And so we do the best job we can to simulate that in practice. You know? And you can only do so much. Everybody knows that. But I don't know. We make sure that they're aware of that. We're aware of that. Conditioning is always staying the same. You know, we're pedal to the metal on that.
Oh yeah, they were getting it today at the end of practice, pretty good.
And that'll carry throughout the whole season. You know, if we're out there playing in the state championship, hopefully we're out there running in the cold. You know, the week of doing conditioning like we did the very first week of summer. You know, and that's the whole goal. Yeah, do what you're doing in 110. Hopefully, when it's 30 something outside. Yeah. You know.
Let's move on to the special team player of the week, Gabe Dittmeyer.
Yeah. A senior that's been kicking for a long time and made all of his extra points, did what's asked of him. And that's just that's what needs to be done out of somebody that has a senior position like his, something that's very important to the team, something that could come down in the end. You know, you never know what 1 point could do. And we just have to count on him to stay automatic, you know, keep doing things right. And I've coached Gabe for a long time, and I know that we'll be able to depend on him in the end.
Well, he's got a ton better too. I mean, yes, he's pretty consistent on extra points. He's had to kick a lot of them this year.
Yeah, that's all. He's got some practice. You know, he's got some practice, and going from a kid that we used to throw the football to depend on to catch the football to just getting to kick and focus on that in practice now. You know, and there for a few years it was like, Gabe, we need you on scout team too. You know, and to be a receiver, to do things. And in the past 2 years, he's kind of got to step back and just do the kick and roll, especially this year. And that's good. You know, we need that as a program.
Well, and he's got a ton better, too, on the kickoff side of things.
Absolutely. He's being able to put that where we need it.
Yeah. And then every now and then when we ask him to kick deep, I mean, he's getting the ball to the end zone.
Yep.
I mean, when you make a team go 80 yards, I mean, that's pretty tough on a lot of high school offenses. And like I said, not only is he consistent on the extra points and things, but he's gotten a lot better in the kickoff side of things. And again, he's kicking off a ton because we're scoring so many points.
You know who a kicker's worst enemy, I feel like, is?
Themselves. Their mind.
Besides that, most definitely. But on the football staff, you would think, the special teams coach or the head coach. It's the defense coordinator. Yeah. The defense coordinator is
usually aren't too fond of kickers.
Does a good job of making sure, like, hey, this kickoff needs to be down there. We don't want to start on the 40-yard line, you know, and rightfully so, you know. Right. And I don't know, there's a lot of pressure. People just see it as, oh, go kick the ball. It's not. Like, you need to put it where it needs to be put, or Bake's going to come get you.
And it's funny, too, because like you said, people think, you're just kicking a football, but you know, I mean, I know not many people have a tee, but go in your backyard, and try to kick a football.
It's hard.
And see how hard.
Yeah. And it's real hard when everybody's dependent on you to do it, too. And
It's funny, you always see athletes, you're just a kicker, and then they try and go kick an extra point, and it, hits the center of the butt, or it goes backwards, or whatever the case may be.
Yeah, a lot of things can go wrong in that whole operation.
Oh, yeah.
And, Gabe did he's done a great job all season and will continue to do a great job.
Let's move on to the Sharpen Your Axe Award, Chase Fincher.
Yeah.
Let me jump that off, though, because I remember, like, it was the first half, like, he's down there blocking, like, 4 to 5 different people, man.
Crushed a dude right before half. Crushed him right on our sideline, and they kind of got a sympathy call right there.
Yeah, that was not.
They called a hold, maybe on somebody on the interior or maybe on Shea, but it was, kick out block where he just flattens a kid and you just roll across him, where it's just not.
I think realistically, 3 blocks, but at the end of the day, he also got the interception.
The interception, was a just phenomenal individual athletic play.
One of the coolest high school plays I've ever seen. And I just something as a coach when you see it happen live. I saw it batted up. So, man. And then I knew Shea caught it, and I knew as soon as Shea caught it, I was like, "There's no way this dude's not going to score this touchdown. Like, there's no way he won't."
Dude can go, man.
Yeah, that's what you've been waiting on as a lineman.
The athletic ability to do. You're rushing, you see it's a screen, you stop, you jump, you tip it, hand-eye coordination to catch it, and then you fight your tail off to get in, and then you throw
volleyball or something.
Yeah, then you throw the ball 40 yards in the air.
To me, that was the best part. He scored.
And referees,
he got up. He heated that ball about 50 yards into the air.
Referees sometimes when they do those big guy touchdowns will give them a little bit more slack than they will the Matt Lunds.
Yeah, I think we might have ate that one too if they would have threw it, because it was such a phenomenal play, and he didn't do that to like celebrate. It was just like he did to celebrate, but not like
it's pure enthusiasm,
emotion and like juice, and hell, it's a lineman scoring a touchdown. Like,
well, and I'm not on the sidelines during the game, but up in the booth you can see, I mean, his joy and enthusiasm for playing. I mean, he's constantly not necessarily talking, but dancing and moving and just
alive,
enjoying.
And if you know like him and his mom and his family, the first thing I do is I go look in the stands to see Charlotte.
Oh yeah, she's
and everybody else is doing the same thing. They're congratulating her, and she's and just proud like she should be, and just somebody that's going to celebrate like everybody else out in the stands that sees something fantastic like that. And Shay's just
and him he's got to be. We've talked about it a little bit with Trey Crabtree, and Shay's got to be in that conversation too. Most improved. I mean, he was good last year. Don't get me wrong, but didn't play much on the defensive side of the ball. Kind of spelled Jace every now and then, kind of in the middle there. And then played center.
Probably our best and most improved. When it comes to that aspect.
Yeah, and then played center. And now kicking him out to tackle has really made a big difference on the offensive line, because his athletic ability to get out in front, like you said, on those kick out blocks, or to pull him on some of those outside zone and counter plays. It's a fun thing to watch. Because for his size and playing the position that he plays, he's so athletic. And then on the defensive line, I mean, him and Jack, you'd be hard pressed to find two better a tandem of those two in the state as good as those two.
And Jace plug in the middle, that's nasty right there.
Yeah, and I mean, when you look at them too, neither of them really look like defensive linemen.
No, not at all.
And they find a way to. I mean, they use their quickness and their athletic ability more than brute strength. But both of them are still super strong, and
I think about a lot, and this is kind of a rabbit hole. Maybe I got a second, but I think about an athlete like Shay, and I'm like, man, what if Shay was like playing 8-man football somewhere? Like, what would they use him
quarterback?
For? Would he be quarterback? Would he be out there throwing dimes and running down the sideline? Or, it's just like football is awesome in that way, depending on where you play or like what you do. Like he could do that somewhere. Like he's athletic enough like that.
Well,
that's just that's my crazy rabbit hole.
But I mean, going back to the kind of the Matt Lund thing, I mean, there might be a coach down the road that looks at that and goes, hey, that could be a tight end. That could be a fullback. Because Shay's what?
225, 230,
right. Now he's got the frame to put some muscle on to play D line or potentially offensive line in college. But like I said, somebody may look at him, look at his athletic ability, and go, hey, I could maybe make a fullback out of that. I could maybe make a tight end out of that.
He's kind of that hybrid.
Yeah,
a little bit.
Yeah, not necessarily. I'm not saying like an outside tight end, but hand in the ground.
Yeah,
type of tight end. If you're still kind of running an I formation type team, or like that hybrid fullback /
If he listens to this, he don't need to get no crazy ideas.
No, I'm not saying we're going to throw the ball to him. We're definitely not going to throw the ball to him anytime soon.
No, and that's just a weird rabbit hole, like I said, and like I think about with football. Like kids being athletes in different positions and what you can do and what kind of assets you are to your team, depending on where you are position wise.
You can make teams in the college level and whatnot being that big and athletic by playing special teams.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, the more versatile you are, the better. In college, you can only dress out, 50-something kids. So, I mean, the more versatile you are to play multiple positions to even have the athletic ability as an offensive lineman or defensive lineman to run down on kickoff or punt return or punt and anything like that. I mean, that helps you get on the field and stay in the dress squad.
Lots of like NFL special team dudes. Like I like to look at them, look at their size and see what their stats are, and you think in your old man mind, like, oh, all right, dude, you're 35 years old running down the field, but you don't understand like those are people that are finely tuned athletes that, you know, are highly trained and understand the game of football, and they were star quarterbacks somewhere or star receivers somewhere or star linemen somewhere that have just developed into other assets on the football field, you know.
Well, I think it goes back to our coaches too, developing players, right? What you said earlier about no crazy ideas, like you don't have to worry about none of that. I don't think, you know what I mean.
No,
and I think a lot of the kids understand that. You know, the development coming up, they understand where they're at, and they're all team players. Like we've said multiple times on this podcast, they're happy for their teammate making a touchdown. They're happy. Like y'all said, we have 18
kids that have scored touchdowns.
Yeah, I mean, that's a big deal, bro.
But if a coach asks you to move a position too, and I think we talked about this last week with Chalmer, if a coach asks you to move a position, he's doing it because he sees something in you
to get you on the field.
You on the field. Like I said, no coach is going to put you in a position that's not good for you. Because at the end of the day, we also talk about this is y'all's livelihood. I mean, you know,
I think like something that kind of piggybacks on all that whole thing. You're talking about the development of kids. Me and Chalmer were talking today just about our junior high and everything. And I was frustrated a little bit in our game last night. I felt like we got out athleted, you know, maybe in some spots, and not out coached by any means or out strategized when it came to it. And I was just expressing some frustration about it. I don't like to lose, man. We lost in overtime, and but I say, you know what? Our kids can get in any formation on the field. They can run counter, dive, outside, these basic plays out of any formation, and a lot of teams can't do that, you know. And the team that we played, you know, I kind of see them just saying, hey, you line up there, run this way, you know, and that is not going to translate into a high school team that's developed and needs to be where they need to be. So you might have those 3-4 or 4-4 junior high seasons that are not like right where you want to be. But if you understand like the big picture and where you want to go, those kids are going to be better off in the long run. And most of the time, you know.
Well,
and it's hard because you want to have success and you want to use your athletes right, but you need to teach.
But you're also building a program.
Yes.
So sometimes in those 7th and 8th grade games, and y'all can correct me if I'm wrong, you're putting kids in position, you know, they may be better as a junior high, you know, running back or whatever that position may be, but you're putting them in a different position because that's where you're going to that's where they translate to in a year or two from now on the varsity level. Yeah. And you also look at it and go, hey, I've got, I've got Braxton Antuna and Kason Meyer as freshmen already playing varsity. So, you know, this kid is a good, you know, running back, but we're going to play more on the defensive side of the ball right now to develop him there because we're going to use him there in the next couple of years a little bit more. And that's part of building a pro. Yeah. Like I said, sometimes, on that junior high level, it's not necessarily, everybody wants to win, but sometimes it's not about the wins and losses. It's more about the development of, did we get them better for the lights when they roll on Friday night?
Yeah, and mom and dad don't see that a lot, you know, and that's fine.
And I get it, yeah.
And I get that too. Like, you do want to have success and you want to keep kids around through success. And then you get the development part where, well, my kid didn't play a down this play. How's he getting, or this game, how's he getting better, you know? And that happens. And it's going to happen because there's things that kids got to develop where we can trust them to get on the field in certain situations, no matter where the game's at, you know. And some kids can't do that yet, and it's our responsibility as coaches not to put them on the field.
Well, and you talked about the last time you were here with us. I mean, a lot of that also translates to come watch them from Monday through Thursday or whatever day, you know, on those practice days, you know. Some kids are not practice players. I get it, but you still have to put forth effort, and you still have to, you know, fight and practice and, you know, do things that you're asked of you. I mean, a lot of it stems from there.
Moving on.
That's right, baby.
To the Rough Rider of the Week, Jace Williams.
I don't want to be short on talking about Jason anyway because he's one of them kids when you talk about Mike had a soul with the selflessness. You know, he's the exact same way. People don't realize, like, the double teams he takes on and the role he takes on the line, everything's super unsung with him, you know, and he's going to get his benefits down the road with his, he's going to go play college football or wrestle or do both or or do whatever he wants, like in that aspect, because he's really good at being an unsung hero and doing like the jobs that are asked of him. And his talent showcases through all that.
Yeah.
You know, he finds ways to showcase his talent in that way, but it's never unnoticed like the unsung way, you know.
Right.
And I never, coaching staff never does. And Jace doesn't need that, like that type of fulfillment out of us. But and like we don't give him a ton of it, to be honest with you, because he's just that type of kid. We got to keep on that line, keep motivated, you know, not motivated, but keep next thing coming forward, you know, type thing. And he's fantastic, dude. Jace is awesome, and he's awesome.
Big beef, dog.
Yeah, he's one of them kids that like I've got to watch just since fourth grade, third grade, you know, and just growing up and doing things right and always believing what his coaches said. And I don't know, Jared and Cynthia say it a lot. I know when they talk about us as coaches and say, boy, he'll run through a brick wall for you. And
right.
I know that.
Right.
I know that. I know he would do anything. He's tremendous with my kids. He's like a great like Christian example for kids too, like involved in the church. And it's not one of those things where, he's just drug along to church with his parents or stuff like that. No, like he's there doing things like the right way. And
he's umping little league games during the summer.
And wrestling. He reffed a little league football game for me on a Monday night in Lawton earlier in the year. We played the Bison and went out there, refereed it, took some heat from some Lawton fans, you know, and he's just like, he's incredible. And like, I make sure after that game, I want my boy to take a picture with him to see that like later on in life, like when Jace is playing college football or in the freaking NFL or wrestling somewhere and being that, it's like, hey man, he was this type of example for you. You know, this is what you want to do, you know?
Well, and I urge, like you said, I urge our listeners to 2 or 3 plays on defense, just watch him. Because most people, when they come to the game, obviously they follow the ball.
Yeah.
But I urge you to just take 2 or 3 plays whenever we're on defense and he's on defense and just watch him.
Right.
Because he makes a decent amount of tackles from his nose position, but the beating he takes all game and the people that he absorbs and consumes to allow Ritson and Colin and even Jack and Shay to a certain extent run free. Like I said, that goes back to the unsung part.
Yeah, the attention he required.
Right,
you know,
right.
As like
there's times when I look up and both guards in the center are and he's, you know, grabbing 2
iron cross with them.
and you know, so that's 3 blockers now that are just taken up. So you're going, how did Jack get there so easily? How did Ritson get back there for a 10-yard loss? Well, it's not that it's not that hard, but it's not that hard to take off from your linebacker spot if you have an empty lane to run directly through. And then, like I said, that's part of that unsung part that doesn't show up in the stats, doesn't show up. And that, you know, when Ray Lewis, best linebacker probably ever played, will tell you, the best years he had was when Tony Saragusa was up front and just grabbed 3 different people so he could run free. And Jace does a lot of that during games. And like I said, that's why I urge our listeners to just watch it for 2 or 3 plays and you'll have a better, you know, understanding of what he means to the entire defense. And then the same thing on the offensive line. I know Rough Rider's kind of an offensive line deal. Him and Keith on the left side, that's about as good of a left side of an offensive line you can find. I know we've said that a decent amount about a lot of our players, but that's about as good definitely big, definitely size-wise. They come off the bus and you're like, oh, okay.
When your offensive player of the game is the line, but then you're the king of the line for the game, you know, you must have graded good and everything right, you know, and so that speaks volumes, I feel.
Yeah.
Hey, so almost at that mark, Cody.
Yep.
So let's go ahead and jump into
Duncan,
dog. Your hometown, brother.
Demons.
How's that feel to not only be playing them, but going to your hometown and playing them?
I told Chalmer and them today, I was like, I've been to Duncan and played a lot of junior high games and a lot of JV games and stuff, like playing them. And varsity, though, has always been at home. So this will be the first time to travel back on a Friday.
Oh.
To be on the sideline and to actually play them since I was playing there. So that's kind of cool, you know.
That is pretty cool.
That'll be good, and they're kind of building some new stuff around there, so it'll be cool to see that. My dad still lives a couple blocks away, so hopefully sneak him out to the game and we give him a beat down to the hometown, and that's fine. We need to go do that. We need to go over there and just handle business and do what we're supposed to do. And I feel confident going into it. Like, I feel like our kids probably do as well, but it's still a football game. We got to take care of business and go in there at the mindset that this is a playoff game. This is a state championship. Like, we got to strap up and go, and that's just kind of where we're at. But yeah, going back home is cool to play.
Well, I mean, the bigger picture thing, that's an awesome deal to go back home. It really is. Like, I transferred in college, and my last ever win as a college quarterback was at my old school.
That's awesome.
It is awesome to go back there and kind of look at everybody and, give them the finger salute and on their way out and whatever else. But big picture wise, like you said, big picture wise, obviously we talked about it last week on the show, the big one last week against Midwest City and MacArthur, and obviously Midwest City handled things pretty easily there. Yeah. So now we're the only undefeated team in the district. And so that truly means, we control our own destiny. So, I know people have said, Duncan's lost to this team, that team, y'all beat that team, this team, that team. It's not always transitive property in a football game. Every game is different, but if you were worried about that little lackadaisical looking past the opponents, now that you kind of control your own destiny, that makes things a little bit. It's something that you can hang on to as a coach to kind of say, hey, look, guys. If we run the table for these next 3 weeks, we're the number 1 seed. We're probably going in as a number 2 or 3 overall seed. I might get 2 games at home.
Want to just control what we can control,
right.
And that's exactly where we're at. Go in Friday night, control what we can control. Still have to play as hard as you can. Because that's where the injuries come in, is if you're out there playing preventative and not going 100,000 miles an hour. So, I know we'll strap up and be ready to go. I think they're a program that's trying to rebuild and come back. I didn't play for Matt Terry, but he was there at a point when my brother was there. My brother played for him, and my brother loved him. So he was a great coach, and he was an assistant to Hollowell was there at the time. And
so he was assistant and came back as head coach?
Yeah, okay. He was assistant there at Duncan 2008 at time, and like I said, I don't really have a personal relationship with him, but my brother did. He's a good coach, trying to get things going there. But
yeah, they've got some talent. Said their record doesn't necessarily indicate it, but I know they're the big quarterback from last year kind of plays multiple positions this year. They move him around some, still plays some quarterback, but also plays some running back and tight end and some other things. And then the quarterback they have is a freshman. He's their quarterback, but he's also their deep returner on kickoff. So that just to show what kind of athlete he is. So if he gets in the open field, that could cause some problems. But like I said, I think if we play Iowa football the way we've played in 2023, we should walk out of there with a pretty good victory and roll into next week against MacArthur, being senior night and all the festivities that will accommodate with that. And like I said, hey, we can control our own destiny. You're 7 weeks into the season, you can still say you control your own destiny. That's exactly where you want to be.
Yep.
And this is kind of where we planned to be at this point in the season, and everything is kind of worked out the way that we anticipated and wanted, and just got to keep the train rolling.
You got it.
Final words, Cody?
Nothing too crazy. Kind of something on the wrestling side. If anybody's looking to go compete this weekend from my club or anywhere around, they're having a takedown tournament in Comanche. My brother's running. It's the Noah Pressgrove Memorial Takedown Tournament. Noah was a wrestler that Casey had last year that was killed in an incident down in Comanche earlier in the fall here, and it's just supporting a good cause and a good family, and just a good program over there. Casey does a good job running that program, and just an opportunity to go compete. So if you're looking for that, you can sign up Comanche Wrestling, just find it, and go compete this weekend.
Final words for me, just continue to take care of business. like I said, I mean, at this point in the season, we control our own destiny, and that's exactly where you want to be. So it's the next week into the potential 14-week, journey, and this is week 8 of it, and we're right where we want to be. So just can't have any stumbles or hiccups between now and our ultimate goal. So just play our up to the Owl standard that we've laid out in 2023, and I think we'll take care of business, and then we'll be able to have some fun and talk about next week's big one against MacArthur, and then also good luck to you, Coach, and the first and second grade team. Hopefully we can take down Tuttle and make it into that Super Bowl. I know you're headed to practice.
Get on the grind. Get on the grind.
Go Owls.
Go Owls. You can't make it to Duncan, watch us. We'll be live at 6:30 on Oklahoma Sports Network, and we'll have kickoff at 7. You'll hear me go, woo! Hopefully a lot.
Don't get too much longer.
Oh, no. It is what it is.
That's what I hear.